La leyenda, la historia y la imaginación están mezclados en esta...
Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage, where we watch every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order. I'm Sean.
I'm Tennille.
And today we have a first.
A Mexican film.
Our very first Mexican animated film.
The further we go on in this project, we'll have fewer and fewer, firsts from countries.
It's true. But then we'll start getting the first 3D animated films from various countries and stuff like that.
True.
There's always going to be new firsts to have.
New firsts on the horizon.
Well,
this was The Three Wise Men from Mexico, 1974. This was really charming. Yet again, this is one of those, we never would have found, or gone after ourselves without doing this kind of project, and I'm glad we saw it. It was cute.
Yeah. Damn, this movie is pretty.
Yeah, it's really pretty. I will say it's definitely, targeted at a very young audience.
Oh, absolutely.
Which makes me a little bit more lenient on it. Not that I don't think children's films shouldn't be held to just as high of a standard. But this was obviously meant for, almost toddlers.
Mm-hmm. Or, 10 max or something like that.
Yeah, 10-year-olds would probably find this pretty dull.
Mm-hmm. It's I gotta say, this movie is very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
The art direction is fantastic. The character design is great.
Really good, yeah.
But most everything else is just kind of less impressive. The animation, the story, the pacing, the music, it all exists and is fine for the most part, but nothing compares to the art direction itself.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing we want to point out with this film, is that, the design of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So beautiful. Whoever they had working as their art director did a fantastic job and obviously has a background in illustration.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of stills from this movie later got put into, a children's book. There are specific points in this film where it's just illustrations, and it's honestly the best part of the movie because they're
so
beautiful.
Pretty. God,
they're
man.
beautiful. However, this isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Like we said, the pacing's pretty. I guess not the pacing so much. It's kind of slow. But the way the story is very segmented.
Oh, it's incredibly segmented.
Yeah, it's you've got Maria and Joseph. And, there's that story going on. You have the story with the three kings. And
which are all three separate for most of the story.
Yeah.
And then you have Olbaid, and he's hanging out with Prince Herod, and he's got a little minion guy, and he's trying to stop the three wise men from getting to see baby Jesus. And these are all completely separate plots that almost never cross each other until the very end.
Yeah. And it feels very much all right, we're stopping this for right now. We're going to go back to the other thing for a little while. Mm-hmm. It's not a very smooth transition from part to part.
Speaking of smooth transitions, let's talk about the plot of this film.
Okay.
So, in case you're unaware, The Three Wise Men is an adaptation of
the biblical story of the birth of Jesus Christ.
Yes, and the three wise men coming to visit him and give him the gifts of
frankincense,
gold, and myrrh.
Yeah.
And so we have our three kings, or wise men, as they're referred to. It changes and varies depending on
Magi.
which... Yeah.
They're called all different things depending on...
In this particular version, they are all three kings or rulers of various locations.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, what's his name? From, I think, Europe, maybe. Sir, I don't know, from the middle of the desert. And Sir, this guy from Africa. King of all Africa.
All of Africa!
And I gotta bring up a point that
This is the downer part of the movie.
This is the big yikes of the movie.
Yeah.
The African village not well done.
No.
Everyone looks...
It's a big old stereotype.
Yeah.
They even throw in, like, modern stereotype jokes. I'm just like, come on, really?
We didn't need to do this.
Yeah, it's like you were doing so well. But alas.
Especially seeing as this movie has a very, very deliberate choice of ethnicity for every single character, because other than the three kings, Prince Ulbaid, King Herod, and the African village, everyone else is Mexican.
Yeah.
Literally everyone else, including the wife and children of the other kings, are Mexican.
Yeah. I mean,
which is
it's interesting. It made me like try and like think, because I grew up Christian, so I'm trying to think of like times where I know I've watched some like Christian media where like the cast is completely whitewashed.
Oh, every time pretty much.
Yeah. And so it's funny that, you know, like we look at this and of course like the whole cast is Mexican except for when like it specifically calls for them to be something else.
But then like everyone they're related to is still Mexican.
You're right.
Honestly, I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I want to see more of this kind of shit.
It's just one of those things where it's like, it took us, or me specifically, like it took me off guard at first. That's another thing I want to talk about is the setting. The setting, like everything is made to look like Mexico, but they still call it Jerusalem and Israel.
And stuff like that.
Until, well, I guess not until, but like, then we go to where the other three kings live, and it's, you know, like
a European castle, and then some sort of Arabian desert, and then...
And Africa.
And then just
India? Jungle
Africa, or... I don't know. It's very confusing.
Yeah, and so I'm like, but wait, we're in Mexico. My dumb monkey brain can't handle it.
And then King Herod is living in some vaguely European castle.
But it's got like a lot of thorns and stuff around it.
It's super cartoonishly evil. It's funny. Our story follows the Star of David as it guides everyone to Jerusalem or Bethlehem or whatever. I don't know. I haven't read the story in a long time. Okay.
Yeah.
To Bethlehem. Again, everything is like very much so bright and colorful in like Mexican attire. So all the animals are outlandish colors. They're beautiful and gorgeous.
They're so good.
The three kings themselves are like brightly colorful, and their animals, like they have animal counterparts that go with them, and they'll have their own characterizations, yada yada yada. They're all tempted by evil that the little bat minion guy tries to set upon them.
Bat minion guy.
There's a lot of really dumb slapstick. I'm going to be real honest here, especially with King Herod. King Herod and the bat are constantly falling, rolling, tumbling, slapping, smashing, crashing. The whole time they're on screen.
King Herod a lot, like in particular, reminds me of Prince John.
Except like bad.
Well, yeah, but I'm like, there's enough similarities. I'm kind of like, did they, like, were they specifically inspired by Prince John, or was just this a popular archetype around this time? I don't know, because it's so soon.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's difficult to say.
But, like, specifically some of the, like, snoring noises and stuff were, like, almost exactly the same kind of, like, you know, it's just, like, very, very similar.
So,
Ulbaid is...
I
love him.
I love this man's design.
Oh, it is fabulous.
He just looks so good. And because he looks so good, he often moves terribly.
Yeah.
His animation is pretty poor.
But the design is so good, you can imagine what it would look like if it was animated well, and you're just like, Ooh. Yeah. I want that.
Super sexy evil man.
Uh-huh.
And
if you spell his name backwards,
it's Diablo. He's the devil. Of course he's the devil.
I love it.
He's just hanging out with King Herod for some reason and wants to stop the three wise men for reasons. I don't know. He's also trying to kill baby Jesus, but that doesn't really work out for him. And
I mean, of course.
Yeah. At the near the end, he's like, I'm going to take things into my own hands, and he stops the three wise men in the middle of the desert, and then they have a scrap battle inside an imaginary tent that he made.
Yeah.
And the king of Africa tackles the devil. Man, I love that part of the three wise men story.
Yeah, me too.
I'm surprised they leave it out of every other adaptation.
This was pretty good, okay?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
I love it.
I would definitely recommend this one. And they also have the again, the very beautiful parts of the movie. It has its silly parts, but the parts where, they're showing Mary and Joseph going to all the different places, and they have the song.
Yeah, the traditional Mexican song that apparently, I remember learning this in school, where Mexican children go house to house and sing this song, and the people in the house sing it back to them, and I think this all happens on Christmas Eve or something like that.
I think so.
And so they're doing that in this movie, but just with gorgeous still images.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Yeah, but I love that this is part of the film, and I love that, that we have an animated film like this from Mexico, because Mexico has such unique traditions around Christmas. I mean, a whole bunch of cultures do have very unique Christmas traditions. So it's really cool to see these traditions be forefront. I felt when I was watching this, it felt like this would be something that I would grow up with. Had I been born in Mexico.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just very sweet. And
kind of like how in America we're force-fed Rankin Bass.
Yeah, it feels nostalgic even though, I'm not a part of this culture at all.
Absolutely. That feels correct. That's how I feel about this movie, too. Because I've never seen it before, but
it just instantly has, something nostalgic about it.
This nostalgic charm.
Yeah.
So, do you have more notes?
There was not a whole lot about this movie.
Dang it.
Basically, the only trivia or notes I could find was that this was the first Mexican animated film, but I tried looking into it just a little bit more than that, and I looked up the directors of the film, which is Adolfo Torres Portillo, who directed a ton of Mexican films.
Wouldn't that be Portillo?
Portillo.
Is it one or two L's?
Two L's.
Portillo.
Two
L's is a y sound.
Okay. I didn't take a whole lot of Spanish.
Okay.
But he directed a ton of Mexican films. Looks like mostly live action, and then this one's kind of thrown
just
in there.
Out of nowhere?
Yeah. Might have just been something he wanted to make for his kids or something. I don't know. That's just me assuming something. But
okay.
That was interesting. And then the other director was Fernando Ruiz, Ruiz, who only is credited for making two other animated films, but they're both in the 90s.
Whoa.
And they're both about Oliver Twist.
Sorry, what? Two movies about Oliver Twist from the 90s.
Yeah.
From Mexico.
And then this movie. And, that's it.
That's very strange.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what those are like when we get to them.
Yeah. We'll get to there, eventually. And we'll be like, remember the three wise men? Yeah, I guess.
There's so many movies between now and then.
Yeah.
Well, my ending notes are This movie is incredibly refreshing, and I
Very charming.
highly suggest checking it out if you can.
Anything would have been refreshing after the last film we just watched. The film that
true.
shall not be named.
Well, bad news.
Oh no!
I mean, okay, it's
We
not...
don't know. We don't know.
Not necessarily bad, but it is
I
definitely...
do not have high hopes.
It is another animated adult film called Down and Dirty Duck.
Y'all need Jesus.
We just got it. See you guys next time.
Traemos a todos los niños del mundo la paz, el amor, la amistad, y así